All right. Well, hey, Coaches Up for Change. I am Dee Korchan, and I am glad to be with you tonight. It is Monday night. It's July 11th, and we are here for our Monday night team time. So whether you are a brand new coach, maybe a coach just checking us out for the first time, or a coach that's been coaching for years, you are welcome here. You have a place here, and we come together just really in community, but most importantly, to learn, to grow, to be our best for others. So just a couple quick announcements because I'm excited about tonight's call with Shauna Davis leading us, and I'm going to do a great call with some of our leaders sharing on asking good questions, which is such an important skill for us as coaches to always continually be working on. But some big things, you probably all know this, but I want you to just reinforce it because it is so big. Just the reminder that Optavia has passed this incredible gift of the new coach accelerator incentive that's available for the month of July and August for your new coaches that you bring on. Somebody is not muted. If we could, maybe somebody help me. Oh, there's the that's her. But we're already starting to bring in more coaches onto our team. And just a reminder, these are accelerated bonuses. A new coach comes on, if they help 3 or 4 people in their first month, it's $150 bonus for you and for them. And then they can continue to earn that bonus, another bonus in both the next 2 months following it. So for 3 months, and that applies in August as well. So super fun, and just don't want you to miss that opportunity. If you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know who would become a coach, I just want to remind you that 90% of our 67,000 coaches were clients first. So in your client base, most of us here on this call were clients first. So we want to be asking the questions, finding out their need, what they want, what they need. Most often they don't know what they need. So we need to awaken them. So work with your coach on identifying your candidates because they're out there for us. And like you and me, they could change their life. Just a couple quick things. I just mentioned it before call started. We have convention next week. So we'll have another team call before convention, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to remind you that if you want to attend our team time party, and I hope you do, because it's going to be so much fun. We've got a DJ, we rent out an entire restaurant, but the deadline is this Friday. So you'll want to make sure you RSVP and pay by this Friday to save your spot at that. And then also rooms are starting to fill up for the Awaken conference. So if you are already eligible, make sure you're registered and get yourself a room, because they just notified me today on that. So you're going to want to get in on early bird registration. You can also qualify this month as an executive director and secure your position in that conference as well, and also in August. So good things are happening. Right after this call, they have reformatted the community calls. These are the large scale webinar community calls on Monday nights. They have combined the client and the coach call and said, you know what, we are all community. So they're putting us together. It's now a 45-minute call. It's going to be about 30 minutes on a client topic, and then they're going to just roll right into some coach stories and talking about the full trilogy. So it's a way that we can actually impact more people in that large scale. There's about, I think they said like 7,000 people that get on that call every week. So that's a good one, in addition to our incredible smaller community call we have on Tuesday nights. So Shauna, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you on our topic of asking good questions.
Okay, thank you, Dee. And I'm so excited. We have a great panel of coaches tonight. And I'm going to tell you, I always learn when I come to this. So make sure you've got your paper and your pen out. Before we dive into the discussion, I just want to share a few things. We all know that asking questions can be hard and often intimidating. And if I'm just being transparent, it was one of the hardest struggles of mine when I became a new coach. I felt uncomfortable with some of the questions, and I didn't understand why I had to ask them. But I quickly learned the value of asking questions. So I want to share a few things that helped me a little bit, and I hope they'll help you too if you're struggling. Before having a conversation with somebody, whether it be a health assessment or a check-in call with a client or a coach, there are a couple things that you want to kind of be focused on up front. The first one is, what do I want or need for myself from this conversation? So you want to go in with it with a clear objective. Am I seeking information? And an example of that would be a health assessment. We're digging for information. Do I need facts to move a conversation forward? Am I looking to entertain offering coaching to someone or the program? Is it a coaching interest or, a program interest that I'm looking for? Or am I trying to solve an issue or a problem? So in all of those things, you're going to be asking questions, and it's really for your benefit. You're looking for information that you need to move forward. The second thing that you want to have a clear focus on is, what does the other person need or want from this conversation? So am I helping them with a challenge? Are they coming to me, or am I calling them and am I helping them meet a challenge that they're going through, or a fear, maybe something that's wrapped around coaching or becoming a client? Are they in a stall? Do I need to help them with that? Or do they have concerns, or are we just doing a weekly check-in? On that particular call, I'm meeting the need of that person. So before you go into these calls, it's a good idea to kind of have a clear, path for what you're doing with the call. We're building a connection in the process of asking questions with our clients, and often we're awakening something within them. So we want to be really, really personal with this time and really aware of what we're doing, the questions we're asking and how we're asking them. And I'm going to tell you, your biggest challenge around asking questions, and the most important thing that you can understand, is you are asking to hear, to listen. You're not asking to be able to say that next thing. So you're listening to understand, not to reply. And that's a challenge for a lot of us. I know it was for me. I'm thinking in my head the whole time they're answering a question, what am I going to say next? And that's one of the toughest things that we have to kind of lay aside when we're asking questions. Because we want to be fully present and fully aware of what they're saying to us. So it's just a listening skill to develop, as well as asking questions. That's the flip side of it. So with that said, let's get to this amazing panel of coaches that we have tonight. Susan, I'm going to start with you. And the first question that we're going to ask is, when doing a health assessment, we all know that getting to their why is one of the most important things that we can do on that health assessment. What is your favorite way to open this door? And what question do you use to jump into this?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll tell you, the health assessment is definitely a great tool. So I often use that in the questions that they have in there. And sometimes I'll just ask, what prompted our call? I like to kind of say, what's the catalyst here that you want to make changes? And then one of my favorite questions is, why is that important? I like to try to dig a few layers deep and ask, why is that important to you? So that's one of the questions I'll start with.
I love that. Just getting right to it. Lucy, you're next. The same question. When doing a health assessment, getting to their why is really important. What's your favorite way to open the door, and what question do you use to jump into this?
I'm going to echo what Susan just said. Honestly, it's why are we talking today? And then I have a 3-year-old grandson, and he's in that why mode. And I do that, whatever they say that their reason is. For example, one last week said, she's turning 50 in December and she wanted to lose 50 pounds by then. Why? Why is that important to you? And of course, sometimes they stay on the surface. Okay, so after your birthday, what's your goal and why is that important? And so a lot of why until it gets really deep.
I love that. Just taking it to the next layer and the next layer and the next layer. That's fabulous. And that's hard to do, but just keep digging. Meredith, you're next. If y'all need me to repeat the question, let me know.
All right. So one of the things that I like to ask is, so initially when we ask, what are your goals? Tell me what you're looking to accomplish. I like to ask, what if nothing changes? So what if you were in the same place you are today a year from now? And that usually gets them thinking. And then from there, I say, okay, now let's dream a little bit. What would it be like for you to be in the place where you're at your goal of having lost 50 pounds and you've got more energy? Tell me how that will change your day-to-day life. And then another question similar to the catalyst question is, I like to say, what's motivating you to make a change now? Because usually there is something that that is going on that they may not volunteer initially.
Love that. Those are great questions. Great questions. Debbie, Pascoe.
Yeah, so I have heard the story, what if you were walking down the shore and you see a bottle and you rub on the lamp and the genie pops out, what would you ask for? And I just really like that, because now we're just playing what if, kind of like this amazing, like it's not even what you think is realistic, it's just like, what do you want? And so I like kind of painting that story and letting them kind of tell me something crazy that they think isn't even possible. And then just anytime I get the answer, I go, okay, and what else? Because usually that's not the full answer. Like there's more to it. So the and what else is like, that's an awesome question.
I love that. Did y'all hear that? Why, and what else? You're always going to take them to the next level. And I love the genie. I do the magic wand. If I have a magic wand, I could tap you on the shoulder. Where would you like to go? What's your biggest, wildest dream? Love that. You can ask them, do you have anything better to do? If not, why not try it, right? Why not? All right, the next question is, at the end of the health assessment, what are you saying to ask your potential client to lead them forward? What are you asking them to lead them forward to sign up on the program? Are you just coming out and asking them? Do you have a special kind of thing that you're doing there? Susan, we're going to start with you.
Well, when I get done with the assessment and explaining the program, first thing I'll ask is, do you have any questions? And then the next thing I ask, okay, what's your next step now?
Love that.
Mhm.
So the next step for most of them is going to be to sign up, right? Yeah, you're just going to assume that they're going to sign up. I love that. Love that. Lucy?
What I do is kind of combination of what Meredith just said. I really go back and recall their why, and, kind of really validate, how would that feel once you reach blah, blah, blah. And then I ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to reach that goal? And then I ask them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to start today?
Two big ones right there, 1 to 10. I love that, asking them on a scale, because you get a lot of information there, don't you? Yeah. Meredith?
I was writing that one down. That was really, really good. I love that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to start? Lately, so I kind of switch this up periodically, but lately what I've been doing that has worked well is so after I go through the 4 components to the program, I'll say, all right, so if we go ahead and get your order placed today, then that means that you can start next Monday. So what do you think? You ready to go ahead and get started? And then I just wait to hear what they say. And then based on what they say, go into answering any additional questions or addressing any concerns that they have.
And there's that uncomfortable silence that you sit in, right, Meredith?
Oh, yeah.
Sit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The pause, and it's good. I think it's oftentimes more uncomfortable for us on our end, because we're like, what are they going to say? And it's easy for us to feel really attached to the outcome. But if we kind of release that and just, believe, okay, when they're ready, then we can stay in that silence and just let them respond.
That is one of the toughest places to sit as a coach, but it's just as important as listening. Debbie.
I learned this from Dan Bell. At the end of everything, after you've gone over, like, this is what this is going to look like and all the things, just say, okay, so here's what I know. And I love the saying, all I know is, or here's what I know. So I just kind of say, here's what I know. And then I go over the 4 components. If you work with me as your coach, and if you follow the program that you're handed, and if you do the things to learn all of the things that are going to lead you to your best self all the way down the road, and you stay plugged into the community, I know that we can. And then you kind of repeat back to them what their goal was, and then say, so I am absolutely ready to get started and help you with that. I'm so excited. Are you ready too? And then kind of, again, like Meredith was saying, now you got to be quiet and just let them talk.
Wow, I love that. Here's what I know. I love that you lay all that out for them like that. Now that's something I've never done. I like that. That's a tip I wrote down. This is great. Are you enjoying this so far? I mean, put a 1 in the chat if you're really getting something from this, because like I said, even when I asked the questions, I learned so much from these ladies. This is fabulous. Okay, our next question, we're still with clients. On your weekly check-in calls, we know that questions become repetitive. You know, we don't want to just always go, how's your weight? How are you doing? You know, are you eating your lean and greens? So if we're only focused on their weight loss, that's what they are. They're just repetitive questions every week. How are you changing this up? And what are just a couple of your favorite opener questions so that you're not always focusing on their weight loss? Susan, we'll go back to you again.
A lot of times before I talk to a client, I take notes when I have my client calls. So I'll go back and take a look at the last call's notes, just see, you know, because sometimes I'll ask them, well, what are we focusing on this week? And it could be, I'm going to drink more water, I'm going to get some movement or something like that. So I make sure that I review what we talked about. And then I might just hit on that and say, okay, how did this week go on your focus? What worked? What didn't? You know, another thing that I will do is, you know, tell me something that you learned in the life book. You know, what stood out for you? Because I will write down as well, like what element are you working on, and that kind of thing. So I try to tie it into the last call. And if it's been a little bit, I also try to say, hey, you know, tell me what is new. What's working for you? What are you struggling with? What do we need to work on? That kind of thing.
Love that. Love bringing that life book back in every time, finding out what they're doing in there. That's so important. Lucy, how about you?
Yes, I'll have to say that I honestly don't ask my clients about weight at all. Because I think that does kind of feed into the diet mentality. And what I always like to focus on, similar to what Susan said, is I keep a electronic note for all of my clients and I review that. And that's one of the first things that we cover, is just to kind of see where they are. But then one of the things, because one of the big struggles is getting into that life book. And so I make an intentional habit of really trying to ask them, what are you implementing that's going to help you change your behavior or mindset? And then we go back into a conversation about how the life book and the Habits of Health book really helps to develop the mindset and behavioral changes.
Oh, Lucy, I love that. What are you implementing that's going to change your mindset and habits? That's fabulous. What a great way to lead into that. Meredith, how about you?
All right. So also I just want to say, if anyone else is out there like, oh my gosh, I don't actually take notes every time I do a client call, I just want to release you. I don't actually take notes when I do my client calls, because normally I'm on the go. And so that being said, a lot of times what I will say is, if they are, if they're struggling, especially one of my go-tos is, what do you feel like you need this week? And that may be something that is related to the plan, or it may be that they need self-care, or they need to go take a nap. So try to ask them what they need or what's missing. A lot of times I also like to say, tell me something good, tell me something that you're thankful for. Or even just catch me up on the best thing that happened last week. And that will kind of spark the conversation. Another thing that I like to do is to so at the beginning of the day, if I know who all I'm talking to, I try to just kind of reflect on every person that I'm going to talk to and where they're at in their journey. And just if you believe in God or a higher power, I ask God, like, okay, how can I serve this person? Is there anything that they need and I just listen to see if there's any impressions that I get of, okay, I feel like I really need to go here on a call. So I also try to do that and just listen to my intuition.
That's such great wisdom there. I love that so much. And, what do you need? That's a really big question of me too. When I talk to my clients, what do you need from me? you know, because a lot of times there's something there that they just don't want to ask. And if you open it up, if you open up the door, they're usually more than happy to tell you, well, you know, I really need this, or I need a little bit more support here. Can you lead me somewhere in the life book that will help me with this issue? So love that. Thank you, Meredith. Debbie, Pascoe.
So I have to take notes. I will not remember stuff. I need notes. So I'm the opposite. I won't remember your name in 5 minutes if I don't write it down. So I learned this from Ron Gels, that like I do take notes. And so like, while we're talking, if they're like, man, my dog, I had to take my dog to the doctor, to the vet, and, you know, or like my dad got sick, or like, I take all those notes down, because when I talk to them the next week, we start the meeting with, hey, how's your dog? You know, because I feel like when you make it something where they know they've got a friend, like you're not just the person who's calling them to yell at them because they ate a cookie, you know, this is their friend, and a friend is somebody you can pour your heart out to. So I like to be involved in like what's going on in their world. And what concerns do they have going on? So that's something that I do. And then if I don't have anything else going on, if there's nothing like, you know, dad's in the hospital, or, you know, like, you know, your son got in trouble with the cops, or like whatever, and like there's not a thing like that, then I like to, this is another question, I'll get to the book thing in a minute, but there's a question where you just kind of say, hey, what's on your mind? You know, what's going on in your world? And again, it's letting them have the onus and be the one who's, in a way, feeling like they've got some strength or some power. You know, it's not just, I'm telling you what to do.
Love that. And do y'all hear where these ladies are building connections? For those that are writing something down, they're going back to what they remembered. And for Meredith, she's really pulling from her heart, where, how can I connect with this person today? What am I being led to talk about? I love that there's a connection there. It's not friendship time. You know, you don't want to get sucked into that. They're being very precise with their call, but they're still building a connection. And that's really important. Okay, in wrapping up your weekly call with your clients, how are you challenging them to set goals that encompass not only their weight loss, but also their personal development? Because what we know is this isn't a diet. It's more about personal development than anything. So how are you challenging your clients on that weekly call? Susan?
I think that depends on the call, you know, what we've talked about, where they're struggling. I always try to pull it in with the life book. You know, I say, well, you know, I recommend an element based upon what, where they're at and their journey and everything like that. But then I challenge them and I say, okay, can you commit to, you know, working on this week? And what is that commitment level looks like? How much time can you spend, or is it a page a day or whatever? I want to hear from them what the commitment is. And then, you know, we kind of just talk about it the next call, but I try to get them to say, I commit to doing that. Because that's, you know, we all know that's the magic formula, is the life book and changing the habits.
Oh, love that. Just setting a goal for the next week. That's great. Great. Lucy, how about you?
Well, when I have a client that struggles to get into the life book, the education piece, I'll just outright ask them. So we started this because you really wanted to make a lifestyle change. Is that still true? And then I'll pause and let them answer. And then I'll ask them, what are you willing to do to help change the behaviors and the mindset and really implement and to make this a lifestyle change? And again, pause and let them answer. And then I reiterate the importance of the education system or the community. And then we will do some brainstorming. If time is an issue or they're not readers, then I give other suggestions, whether it's the Habits of Health, you know, YouTube page or something like that, where they can still get the education component of it. But, you know, I don't let them off the hook, because now my clients know that I'm gonna ask them every week about it, you know, what they're learning. And some of them get irritated about it, you know, but I want them to make a lifestyle change. I don't want them to gain the weight back, and I want them to learn those things so that they can be successful and they can be happy and truly get their goals.
I love that. That's a fearless coach. You are not afraid to pull them back around to where they need to be and really speak truth to them. Love that, Lucy. Debbie?
Don't laugh, but will you please repeat the question? So I
Sure.
answer it the right way.
Absolutely. On your weekly check-in calls, you know that questions, oh no, in wrapping up your weekly check-in call, how are you challenging your client to set goals that encompass not only their weight loss goals, but their personal development as well?
Okay, good. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay. Yeah, so I actually ask them, okay, so what do you think your next goal should be? Like, what are we working on? And let them kind of come up with a, well, I want to master this thing or whatever. And then of course, I'm so very in love with the life book. I just so happy that we have that. So generally during that call while we're talking, they can mention, oh, I cannot say no to the cookies, or like they'll mention a thing that they're struggling with. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, so you know what? Our next element needs to be blah, blah, blah. What do you think? And then I'll just kind of go into why that element is so cool and what my other clients have figured out with it and stuff like that. So definitely tying things into the life book. But I do like to ask, what do you think the next goal should be, or what should we work on for next week?
I love this. So what you hear is setting goals and pulling them back into that life book. And if you're not pulling your clients into the life book, you're doing them a disservice and yourself actually. So really stay. And if you have been around a long time and the old books were great, but holy smokes, the new books are fabulous and they're so easy to work through. So we have gold right there in those two books. Okay, so let's move to coaching. In dripping coaching, which we know is one of the most important things we can do with our clients outside of coaching them to their program, what is one of the things that you struggle with, or no, I'm sorry, let me read my question again. Dripping coaching is one of the things that we struggle with the most sometimes. So what is your best tip in dripping coaching, and what questions do you most often ask to pique their interest in stepping into coaching? So just a couple. What's your best tip in kind of piquing their interest around coaching, Susan?
I think for me, oftentimes I hear from clients that they don't want to gain the weight back, or they're afraid they're going to gain the weight back. They make some kind of a reference to that. And so I try to drip coaching by suggesting that perhaps they would like to look into coaching. Perhaps they would like to pay it forward and help someone else. So that's kind of what I listen to there. But you're absolutely right. That is an area I do struggle with, because sometimes I become so client focused, and it's so important to get that broader focus, or that broader view on how can coaching help this particular client. So that's the thing. I literally have it written down where I look at it every day. How can coaching help this person?
Love that. Find a need and meet it. Dee tells us that all the time. Find a need and meet the need. And usually you can meet just about any need if they step into coaching. So I love that. Lucy, how about you?
Sure. I'm learning to do this much better. In the beginning, I didn't. I stayed away from it, but starting in the health assessment, I really I'm trying to include that as the fifth component. When I talk about how people will notice, their change, not just physically, but even just, how they carry themselves, their joy and things of that nature. And then just kind of briefly, let them know that there's always an option, if you want to consider or think about stepping into coaching, because your friends will want to, be coached by you because they know you. And I just leave it at that. I don't go deep at that point at all. But one of the questions that I do ask is, and this is once they are a client and whatnot, is who would you just love to do this with?
Mm.
Who would you love to have on this journey with you? And then that goes down a whole nother, I wouldn't say rabbit hole, but a whole nother direction in terms of, opening up further and about coaching.
Wow, that is a fabulous question. What a great question to ask. I love that, Lucy. Meredith, how about you?
One of my favorite go-tos is once people or once they're getting going and maybe somebody asks them about the program, I will say, awesome. So you've got two options, or even if someone hasn't asked, I will say, so as you get going, people are going to start asking you what you're doing, and you've got two options. You can refer them to me and I've got a referral plan, blah, blah, blah. Or you could join our team and you could coach them yourself. Is that something that you would be open to? And so I give them the option, and then I say, is that something you'd be open to? And if they say yes, then I'll say, great. Well, I would love to set up a time for us to just explore it a little bit more. And I go ahead and pull up Meg's my coach. I pull up her calendar and schedule it right then.
Love that. Okay. Remember that, y'all. Schedule this with your coach, your mentor coach, and do a coach explore with your client. So important. Debbie.
So I think drip, drip, drip is a really good thing. Definitely, like at the health assessment, when you talk about community, we all also talk about, you know, another really cool thing is I notice my clients are doing so well. People are noticing them. They get to either refer their friends and family, or we can coach them together. I'll say things like, oh man, I love coaching. You know, if something comes up or I get to get excited about like a topic or something that we talk about. When I'm doing stuff with the life book, I'm like, okay, and so like all of us get this coaching guide, because that's going to help us to all coach everybody the same way. That's still dripping coaching, because it's kind of showing them that it's easy. And you know, team coaching with Dee, like when we do the thread stuff, like all of the things. And so, and I've had a time where I've gone to somebody with another, like I'll be like, you know what, I have a client who's struggling with such and such. What would you say to somebody like in that situation? You know, like just an outside kind of situation, and have them kind of play the role of a coach in that little moment and be like, wow, you're really good at this, you know, that kind of thing. So
Love that. Love that, Debbie. That's brilliant right there. Well, I hope y'all can see why these ladies are so successful in acquiring clients and coaches. I'm going to have them put in the chat when Dee posts this live, their favorite book around coaching and asking questions, or, you know, what their favorite book is to help them with that. It was my last question and we don't have time for it, but they can put in the chat of the post that Dee posts their favorite book that on this topic. Thank you, ladies, so much. Dee, thank you for allowing me to facilitate this. This was fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Put a 10 if you think this is one of the best calls we've ever had. I mean, I say that every week, but put a 10 in the chat if you think it is. This is worth the rewatch. Mama Bear is really happy right now, because if I could pass along any skill, it is the art of asking questions. And we have to quiet the noise in our head and realize that everything you're asking is for their benefit. Like nobody was saying anything on how to close a deal, right? It was all about, what does this person need? How can I ask a question? Because coaching is about helping somebody else come to their own realizations, right? Their own. So all you're doing is helping them shift perspectives. So thank you, you guys. Everybody has a different experience level that spoke as well. And so if you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know if I can ask questions like that, we just want to practice. It's practice, practice. And Meredith nailed it when she said, start paying attention to that intuition. And I may go over for 1 second, because I had shared this with somebody that I had heard this recently. I really want to encourage you guys to not be afraid of your clients, to not be afraid of your coaches if you're coaching a coach. I heard this analogy given that for real, that like out on ski slopes and, you know, out west or wherever, they actually have ski instructors that teach blind skiers how to go down a hill, right? They actually teach them how to ski, somebody who is blind. And the analogy this coach gave was that we have a lot of blind clients, right? Like they don't necessarily know what they need in order to get healthy. They know what they've always done, and we know that it hasn't probably worked for them, and that's why they're with us. So it truly is up to us, like the questions Lucy was asking, to keep redirecting back to what we know is going to make a difference. So even if you can get that kind of visual in your head of you're asking questions as if you're leading you're leading them through this, because they just don't know what they don't know. and we are awakening them. So I am excited, you guys. I also just wanted to give you a little heads up. Pop over into Coaches Out for Change after you watch Dr. A. There's a little short video that is in your email from Optavia, but they did a survey. It's a 16-second video, but they did a survey of Americans, and it showed that 70% of Americans think that their health is their top priority. They say the number one barrier is not having positive influences in their life. 2/3 of them say they need support and accountability. And right here, we've got, 50 of us or whatever that are ready and able and willing to help people. So you guys are filling a great need, and I couldn't be more honored to be partnered with all of you. So thank you, Shauna, for leading this call tonight. We'll see you over on Dr. A's, and we'll see you on tomorrow night's Tuesday community call. Thanks, you guys.